Over the past couple of weeks, I've been doing a lot of content regarding trades. We reacted to the TSN trade bait board not too long ago, did one trade candidate from every team, and I want to continue that trend today because obviously the trade deadline is coming up relatively soon. It's about a month away now. So in today's video, I wanted to go over 5 surprising players that I think could potentially be dealt at the trade deadline or leading up to the deadline. These are players that up to this point haven't been on any trade bait boards, haven't been heavily featured in trade rumors or anything like that. Basically, these are my bold predictions and off-the-board picks for the deadline. If you guys have any that you want to let me know about, be sure to leave them down below in the comment section. Any player at all that you think could kind of be traded out of nowhere. But real quick, before we get started, I do have to let you guys know that today's video is sponsored by NordVPN. Staying safe on the internet is incredibly important and it should be taken seriously, so get your internet privacy back today on every device you own in any country you want. Don't let anyone but you control your internet. NordVPN restricts people who shouldn't see your internet activity wherever you go. It also comes with many other perks, such as the ability to watch videos, movies, documentaries that may otherwise not be available in your country. Now, my personal favorite use for NordVPN, and something I think a lot of you guys could benefit from as well, is the fact that NordVPN allows you to work around one of the biggest inconveniences for hockey fans and sports fans in general, and that is regional blackouts. There's really nothing worse than grabbing a snack, sitting back, relaxing, and turning on the game just to learn that it's blacked out in your location. If you're interested in signing up, head to the link at the top of the description or the pinned comment to celebrate NordVPN's 10th birthday. You will get the 2-year plan with an exclusive deal, plus 1 month free and a bonus gift. And the best part about the entire offer is NordVPN's 30-day money-back guarantee, so if you sign up and you're not satisfied or maybe you just don't use it enough, you can easily get your money back. It is risk-free. So once again, if any of the things I just mentioned are of interest to you and you're interested in signing up, head down to the link at the top of the description or in the pinned comment. Huge thank you to NordVPN for sponsoring today's video. The first player I want to talk about is actually Tyler Bertuzzi of the Detroit Red Wings, a player whose contract negotiations with Detroit up until this point haven't gone very well. He's been through arbitration in each of the past 2 off seasons. His current deal doesn't expire until the end of next season, but his expiry status this time around is unrestricted free agent as opposed to a restricted free agent. And my thought process here is basically, I don't think Tyler Bertuzzi is ever going to have a year as good as this one, as well as he's playing this season. He's one of the league leaders in terms of goals scored above expected, which basically means he is finishing incredibly well, but there's also a good bit of luck involved there as well. He has a career high 23 goals already in just 43 games. He's over a point per game. I think in terms of the on-ice product that you're getting from Tyler Bertuzzi, his value is at an all-time high, but then you also have to consider the fact that he is the only non-vaccinated player in the league, so he's not able to travel to and play in Canada still. That would probably scare some teams away because obviously if you trade for Tyler Bertuzzi and then you match up with a Canadian team in the playoffs, that would suck. But I do still feel like it was worth putting Tyler Bertuzzi in this video when you factor in everything, how he's been through arbitration twice already, how he's set to become a UFA at the end of next season, and he's playing the best hockey of his career right now. And let's be honest, who really expected Steve Yzerman to go out and trade Anthony Mantha at last year's deadline? That surprised everybody. It kind of came out of nowhere, so we know Steve Yzerman is willing to make those kind of deals. The next player I want to talk about is defenseman Hampus Lindholm of the Anaheim Ducks. I feel like Anaheim's in a pretty weird spot right now. Obviously, they're in the playoff race. They're only 2 points back of the Kings for the second wildcard spot, but the Kings also still have 2 games in hand. If I had to make predictions at this point in the season, I just can't really see Anaheim getting in. But is the Ducks front office going to see it that way? Are they going to be willing to sell off some pieces at the deadline, knowing that it would probably just completely ruin their chances of making the playoffs? It's kind of a tough call. They're in a similar situation to the Red Wings right now, and Hampus Lindholm is a guy that I feel like we're not really hearing a lot about when it comes to trade talks. He is set to become a UFA at the end of the season. It was also reported on not too long ago that he is actually expected to test free agency as well, so it doesn't sound like he's going to sign an extension with the Ducks before the offseason or before free agency opens. So honestly, at this point, I feel like it would be in the Ducks' best interest to look to move Hampus Lindholm. I mean, think about the rumors about Ben Sherratt and how Montreal could potentially get a first-round pick in return for him. Well, imagine what Anaheim could get for Hampus Lindholm then. Lindholm has been a very good top pairing two-way minute-eating defenseman for a while now, and he also is a guy with some playoff experience. He's made the playoffs with the Ducks in each of his first 5 NHL seasons, obviously hasn't made it since then, but definitely not an inexperienced player by any means, so I feel like he's going to be a really interesting name to watch because, again, like I said, I don't think the Ducks should really risk losing him for nothing in free agency, especially when you could probably get a king's ransom in return for him at the deadline. Moving along now, the next player we have to talk about is Dylan Strome of the Chicago Blackhawks. For a team that is as bad as the Chicago Blackhawks are, I feel like we're not really hearing about any of their players really at all when it comes to trade rumors. Now, I don't really know if I'm cheating having Strome in this video because he was kind of prevalent in trade talks as the season began because he didn't make the Chicago Blackhawks opening night roster. He was a healthy scratch for the first little bit of the season, but he has kind of found his footing a little bit since then, and those trade rumors have really cooled down. He's a name I'm pretty interested to watch. As a Red Wings fan, I would personally really like it if Detroit would go out and try to take a flyer on Dylan Strome, depending on what the asking price is, of course, just based off the fact that Detroit's center depth is very weak and Dylan Strome is still under 25 years old. I think there could be a fit there. Strome is going to be an RFA at the end of the season. I could definitely see a situation where Chicago just doesn't want to deal with that. Obviously, they don't have an abundance of cap space with, Jonathan Toews and Patrick Kane making 10 mil plus, Seth Jones making 9.5. And now that I think of it, I'm pretty stupid because I literally just said you don't really hear any Hawks players' names in trade rumors, but Marc-Andre Fleury is actually one of the more popular names we hear in trade talks, so I kind of forgot he was even on the Blackhawks, to be honest. So I do still fully expect Marc-Andre Fleury to get traded, but Dylan Strome is a name that is talked about a lot less when it comes to trade rumors, leading up to the deadline, that I think is a really interesting name to watch. The next player on the list we have to talk about is Andrew Copp of the Winnipeg Jets. Winnipeg is a team in a similar situation like Anaheim, like Detroit, where they're in a playoff race, but in all likelihood they're not going to make it. And based off of the way things have been going for the Winnipeg Jets over the past, 3-4 seasons, pretty much ever since their run to the Western Conference Final back when, Buffalo was still playing, when they had Tyler Myers and stuff like that, I feel like it may be time for a little bit of a reset in Winnipeg. Maybe not like a complete roster overhaul, but switching up some of the big name players that are there because it just doesn't seem to be working. I honestly feel like this season Andrew Copp would be a good place to start. He's set to become a UFA at the end of the season. If I'm not mistaken, he's been through arbitration a couple of times. I know he has been at least once. He's on pace to shatter his career high in goals this season. He's probably going to put up a career high in points, and I would imagine he's going to be looking for a pretty significant raise from the $3.64 million that he makes this season. If Copp was made available by the Winnipeg Jets, I feel like there would be a ton of interest and a ton of teams willing to give up a pretty significant package. Copp is a very versatile forward in the sense that he can play both the wing and the center position. He can also play both special teams pretty well. I'm really interested to see what happens with Copp because I feel like if he does make it to unrestricted free agency, in all likelihood he's gonna leave the Winnipeg Jets, so I kind of feel like they should probably try to get something for him, similar to what I said about the Anaheim Ducks in regards to Hampus Lindholm. And now for the fifth and final player we're going to talk about in this video, Brock Boeser of the Vancouver Canucks. I know when it comes to the Vancouver Canucks, JT Miller is a name that has been talked about a ton over the past month and a half, but Brock Boeser's name was brought up recently, and I find it really interesting because Brock Boeser is a player who, over the past couple of seasons, his name has always been kind of thrown into trade talks, but it's never really been anything too prevalent. But it kind of reminds me of like the Rasmus Ristolainen situation in Buffalo. Obviously two completely different players, but when it came to Ristolainen, like every single offseason, every single deadline, his name was mentioned, at least in trade talks, but nothing ever really came of it, obviously until last offseason where he was dealt to the Flyers. But I feel like when a player is brought up so often in trade rumors, it's almost inevitable that at some point they're going to be dealt, and I'm kind of starting to feel that way about Brock Boeser. He's had a very strange career path thus far. You can make the case that his best 2 seasons in the NHL up until this point were his first 2 seasons in the league. I was told a stat by my friend yesterday. I haven't fact checked it, so I don't even know if it's true, but apparently, obviously Brock Boeser is kind of touted as being a sniper, but over the past 3 seasons, he has the same amount of 5v5 goals as Scott Lawton. Boeser's going to be an RFA at the end of the season. I'm just really interested to see if this is a player who Vancouver views as a piece of their team long term. I feel like the Canucks, seeing what Montreal got for Tyler Toffoli, it can maybe entice them to at least test the waters on Brock Boeser, see what a potential return could look like. So Boeser's a name I'm definitely pretty interested to watch, with him only being 24 years old still, already having 3 20-plus goal seasons. Maybe at this year's deadline, we could see a trade involving Boeser kind of come out of nowhere, similar to the Mantha trade last year. So that is going to wrap up today's video. Those were 5 surprising players that could potentially be dealt at this year's trade deadline. Again, kind of my bold predictions, if you want to call it that. Like I said at the start, if there's any players that you think could potentially be traded out of nowhere at the deadline, be sure to let me know down down below in the comments and kind of give me your reasons why. If you guys enjoyed today's video and you want to see more like this leading up to the deadline, then be sure to leave the video a like. That is the best way to show your support. And if this was your first time checking out the channel and you want more NHL content just like this, be sure to hit that subscribe button, and I'll talk to you all soon.